I know I just dropped a ban list mid-format, sort of halftime report video if you will, and I didn't plan on making another ban list video for at least another month or until the actual ban list dropped. But then Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel dropped their ban list updates in the middle of the night like a sneaky little thief, and it got everyone buzzing. From the limits that seemingly didn't make any sense, to the unlimits that actually made my jaw drop. I don't even play Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, but today I wanted to discuss it and get everyone's thoughts and opinions on it. Let me first just say, as someone who doesn't even play Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, I still appreciate and flat out applaud how unapologetically original Master Duel is when it comes to their ban list. They're not trying to be the TCG, they're not trying to be the OCG. It's a completely separate and third faction of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, and they pretty much just dance to the beat of their own drum. Yu-Gi-Tubers have been whining about Max C since Master Duel's inception, and what has their response been? Nope, we're not banning Max C. Our game is a best of one, and you shouldn't auto lose when you go second against big combo decks. You're gonna have to deal with it. Now, whether or not that's the right stance is completely up for debate, but I really respect that they refuse to let themselves be bullied or pressured into doing things that they clearly don't want to do. The Master Duel ban list had 0 bans and only 2 cards limited: Runic Fountain, and in a very odd twist, Mathmech Diameter. The Mathmech Diameter hit was puzzling, as Mathmech Circular is clearly the archetype's best and most powerful card. It's a 1-card combo for the theme and is nearly impossible to fully stop, as its effect sins as a cost. Juxtapose this to Diameter, which offers the deck a nice reborn and negation effects, but isn't actually a play starter at all, and does absolutely nothing in a vacuum. I'm honestly not sure if limiting Diameter does anything, because the deck has 3 ways of searching it, so it appeared that most were confused by this move, just like I was. Next up was Runic Fountain going to 1, which was actually met with a good deal of criticism. Where Runic Fountain is an insanely powerful card that can potentially let you draw 3 cards in any given turn, and of course activate quick play spells from the hand during the opponent's turn, it was brought to my attention that Runic isn't actually seeing much success in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel from a competitive standpoint. Despite people hating to play against it, it's basically just a rogue level deck and isn't actually high tier meta. Generally speaking, and I understand as a Runic player people might think that I'm being biased here, but I promise I'm not, I don't personally like when Konami hits cards that aren't actually affecting the metagame. This is especially true when it's an archetype card that a theme completely depends on. The Master Duel ban list went on and absolutely exploded with 8 newly semi-limited cards, one of which I thought was incredibly interesting. That card was Tempest, Dragon Ruler of Storms. So I found this interesting because I honestly believe that the Dragon Rulers as a theme have been power crept despite being one of Yu-Gi-Oh's strongest archetypes ever. All 8 Dragon Rulers at one point in time have been banned, but in recent years we've unbanned Tempest, which saw initial light play in stuff like Dragon Maids and some Dragon Link builds, and Blaster, which pretty much no one played competitively. Most want title back into the game, but there's always players out there who are very wary of Redox. And that card does sound scary until you realize that literally every archetype that's been released in the last half decade already has a searchable Monster Reborn card in it. I think that if every Dragon Ruler card went to 3, it probably still wouldn't be a very good pure deck. So for me, I'm just really happy to see that Konami is getting more comfortable with the Dragon Rulers at higher numbers in some capacity. Master Duel also went hard after consistency and signaled that even newer archetypes aren't off limits, with semi-limits to Purely, the actual little casino cat, Purely Delicious Memory, and Labyrinth Stovey Torby. As a TCG player, I'm fairly surprised to see a main deck monster get hit in a theme that only has 2 of them, as well as a Labyrinth monster instead of, well, you know, like the purple cards. Master Duel further went after consistency with hits to Pot of Desires, Quick Launch, Signet Mining, and Chaos Space. To me, they clearly want these generic and powerful play starters to be toned down a bit, and interesting enough, Pot of Desires was basically the last remaining commonly played pot card that wasn't already on the Forbidden and Limited list. Well, at least if you don't count Pot of Avarice. For those unaware, in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, Pot of Prosperity and Pot of Extravagance are limited, with Desires and Duality being at semi-limited status. I think that they're clearly sending a signal that they don't want a ton of generic powerhouse consistency cards, which I actually think makes it much more difficult to build decks, However, on the other side, I think that it creates a much more interesting environment where everyone doesn't just max out on the best generic consistency cards and put those cards in every single deck they build. The last section was Unlimited, where Konami moved 2 cards, the first being Lyralus Cobalt Sparrow, which I don't really think anyone cares about, but the other was far more interesting, and that was Zoodiac Drident, which jumped all the way from limited status to unlimited. This has me really excited, and again, while I do question some of the moves that they routinely do in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, these are the type of things that make me stand up and applaud them. If I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. When Zoodiac Drident was banned for the second time, not the first, absolutely no one was calling or asking for it. No one even thought that she was problematic at that time, as AA Arsenal Zeus had kind of replaced her as the most important XC monster in Zoodiac builds. Regardless, they foolishly banned her in the OCG and then later in the TCG. But Master Duel has had her legal this entire time, and it appears that they have realized that she really isn't an issue. Now, I should note that Zoodiac Barrage is also banned in Master Duel, just like it is in the TCG and the OCG, which is a different topic because I feel like that card should be at least at limited status as well. But if no one picks up Zoodiac with this move in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, who knows, maybe that card could end up getting unbanned and we could see something, well, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to say full power Zoodiac because I really don't see any condition on which they unban Broad Bull or even really put Zoodiac Barrage at 3, but basically we could see Zoodiac being a playable deck again, which is definitely not the case in any capacity in the TCG or the OCG right now. If it's not completely apparent at this point in the video, I really like this aggressive approach that Master Duel has taken with their ban list, where they're not afraid to make big moves and take some huge swings and basically just sit back and see how they kind of pan out. Personally, I look at cards like Zoodiac Drident, Thunder Dragon Colossus, True Draco Masterpiece, and Wind Up Carriers the Mighty, and I want these cards back in the TCG. Like, I want to be able to play with them because these cards have been gone for a really long time, and I don't think that they are justifiably still banned. I wish that Konami would be more aggressive when it comes to bringing these cards back. Do what you did with Change of Heart, you know, just kind of roll the dice, see what happens, and if it ends up being a problem, you can do what you did with Fairy Tale Snow or what you did with Snatch Steel back in 2015 or 2014 when they unbanned that card and then they put it back on the ban list. I don't understand why we don't have more of that in the game. I think that there is very little risk, or I guess mild risk, because you know you could ultimately ruin a format, but very high reward because it could be something like Change of Heart where the players get a card that they haven't played with in a millennia and the card just ends up being like a niche competitive card like Change of Heart where maybe some people run it in their side decks or something like that. But yeah, the Master Duel ban list actually gives me some hope when I see cards like the Dragon Rulers moving to higher numbers, or I see Zoodiac Drident at unlimited status, which to me says, you know, Master Duel looks at the card and they're like, yeah, this card isn't a problem anymore. So let me know what you guys think. Do you believe that there are some things that the TCG can actually learn from Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel when it comes to the FNL list? I do understand that it is, you know, different because Master Duel is a best of one, so that does kind of change things a bit, but I definitely found their ban list to be very interesting. Don't look for a ton of Master Duel discussions on this channel because I'm not a Master Duel player, but whenever there's something super interesting like this, I might dip my toes in it. Anyways, thank you guys for watching as always.